All right, we're being joined by the One Championship Flyweight Grand Prix World Champ, former longtime UFC Flyweight Champion Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson, a man we unfortunately haven't seen compete in over a year because 2020 be 2020ing, and it's been a number of reasons. Most notably, we got a global pandemic going on, but happy to have one of the greatest to ever do it join us right now. You can also catch him soon on the new show, The Apprentice One Championship Edition. DJ, good to see you, man. How are you?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So this has been quite a year for all of us. You were coming off a very active 2019 campaign after the quote-unquote trade from the UFC to One Championship. You went through the Grand Prix. You won it all. Have another shiny belt for the mantle. So before we get into the here and now, after spending 8 years with the WEC and the UFC, what was it like making that first walk in March of 2019 for One Championship?
It was definitely different. Obviously, traveling over to Singapore and then doing, my 10-day, where did I fight first? I fought in Japan first, that's right. Went to Japan, I think, 12 days ahead of schedule to give myself enough time to acclimate. And, making a walk and not hearing, the same music that I'm used to coming out to was a little bit different. But I had, my own intro, which is pretty dope. And I loved it, man. It's always good to experience different things.
It's been a while since you and I have spoken. It's been around 3 or so years. So forgive me if I bounce around a little bit because there's a lot of questions that I do have. I know that you've spoken about the trade and the loss to Cejudo at UFC 227. But one thing I noticed about you from our last chat compared to other interviews I've seen over the years is that you just seem much more free and happy now. Like having that long title defense streak in the UFC, you had the close fight with Henry that a lot of people thought you won. It just seems like all those pressures, the constant talk about moving up to 35, the talk about Dillashaw moving down to 25 and fighting you. It just seemed, and correct me if I'm wrong, that loss and the subsequent move to one, it just seemed like it was just what the doctor ordered. Is that accurate?
I would say so. I mean, there was a lot of stress and pressure. Obviously there's always going to be stress and pressure when you're a champion. And, it's even more pressure, when it comes to selling pay-per-view and trying to hit a certain market pay-per-view so you make more money and et cetera, et cetera. All that stuff, plays a factor. And I did my best, to, put it behind me and not worry about it. Just go out there and fight and compete, which, I did very well, I like to think. But once that all, basically lifts off my shoulders, it felt good, especially when you go over, to Asia, they respect, the size that, a 5'3" guy, because they're not very big athletes as well. And when, One Championship, it's free on television. It's on VR Live. It's also on TNT and Turner. So that's a huge relief. I mean, the last thing you want to hear after you, defend a world championship and you pull off the Mighty Whiz bar is that, oh, you only sold 195,000 pay-per-views. It's like, thanks.
Still one of the most ridiculous submissions of all time, though. That's going to go down in history forever and ever. At least you got that silver lining-wise, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, in a strange way, I feel like you're appreciated so much more now amongst the UFC fans. It seems like every couple months, like the GOAT talks come up in the UFC and the Mount Rushmore conversations come to light, and your name is always brought up. And you're doing that while still doing your own thing in another promotion. I mean, do you listen and pay attention to that chatter, all the GOAT talk? And if so, what have you made of it?
Obviously, I pay attention to it because it's all over, the feed on Twitter and Instagram and stuff. And I get tagged in it here and there. And I also get asked the question, what are my thoughts? I think it's all about perspective on people, like on a person's opinion, right? Like my GOAT, my top 5 GOATs would be different from somebody else. Or I had a buddy of mine call me the other day. He goes, you can't say John Jones is the best in the world because, it's all about character too. And I was like, well, for me, I just want to know nobody's beat him. So until somebody can beat him, then, that's he's in my boat. They're like, but he popped for drugs. I'm like, he still beat your ass. And so that's just my personal opinion. And it's always going to change. And that's what I was looking at. It's everybody's perspective. It's everyone's certain perspective on what they think is the greatest of all time. And it's always going to be different. Mine might be different from, GSP. It might be different from Daniel Cormier. It might be different from, 1,000 people, but it's my own opinion.
Israel Adesanya had his opinion. He was asked who the GOAT was, and he said you were. And I don't know if you saw that, and because that guy certainly wants to be in that conversation as the years go by, and he believes that you're the guy he's chasing. What do you think about that?
I think it's awesome. I've never had nothing but respect for Izzy. And I told him after when he did the Paula, I was like, dog, you on your way. I was like, you keep putting on performance like that, you're gonna be on your way. I mean, the way he dismantled him, I was like, you know, it's very rare that a fighter will do something in a fight that will make me think about certain things. And when he did the Paula, I was like, duh. I was like, simple footwork. That's the easy way to nullify Paulo Costa's, you know, striking. You know how, you know, when he did to Uriah Hall, when he did the Yoel Romero, he couldn't do it to Izzy Adesanya because he used footwork. And I was like, good for you, Izzy. I was like, you know what? You impress me all the time. But now when he knocked out Paula, I was like, yep, he's on his way. If he keeps doing that, and if he goes up to light heavyweight, and then if he goes up to heavyweight to fight John Jones, I was like, you know, those are all the steps. And, you know, I feel that he's going to be, you know, he's going to be in the sport for a long time. Like, I feel he'll be a champion for a long time as long as he keeps on evolving. And which I feel like he has the mindset to do that because he watches anime. You know, anime always keeps you your mind fresh and keep you evolving.
There you go. True story. I know my colleague Jose Youngs will agree with you on that. So let's talk about you in the here and now, because you were supposed to compete in April against Adriano Moraes, and then the event was canceled due to COVID-19, like many other events around the world. When this was all kicking off, like, I'll admit, like, I had an eye on it, but I guess I didn't take it as seriously as I should have, obviously. But, you know, you're trying to prepare for a fight, trying to prepare travel, etc. Did you think, as you're getting ready for the fight, that it would get as bad as it did, or did you see the cancellation coming? Nope.
I thought if I was going to get canceled, I had my flights booked. You know, we were ready to go. I was training. You know, we were ready to go. And then it was supposed to be in China. Then it got switched to Jakarta. And obviously, you know, my coach, he knew, he saw the writing on the wall because, you know, he's just been through, you know, he has more wisdom. He has more years on me. So he was like, dude, it ain't going to happen. They're going to shut down international travel, which they did. And, you know, the fight got postponed. And it is what it is. You know, I've always been a type of athlete or the person where if it's something I can't control, then I just put it in the back of my mind. Like, I'm just like, screw it. You know, when people are like, when you fighting again, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not worried about it. Until they send me a contract or this pandemic is over with, then I'll start worrying about, you know, when I'm going to fight again. I mean, today is the last day. The gyms are open. We're going back down on lockdown, quarantine for 4 weeks. So, I mean, just like that, everything gets shut down again.
So nothing else kind of came across your desk in terms of another fight once one started getting events back on the books, or just once April was done, you're kind of off the radar for the time being?
Yeah, I was off the radar for the time being. Obviously, you know, all international traveling got shut down. So everything that I do in One Championship is over in Asia. Singapore, Manila, Japan, you name it, that's international travel. So once that got shut down, your boy was put on ice.
I know you don't like to focus on things you can't control, but is there like a part of you deep down that's worried that it could be another year, maybe even longer, before you get the chance to fight again?
It's possible. Absolutely, it's possible. But, you know, I try to keep myself busy, you know, with homeschool with the kids. I homeschool as much as I can. I mean, I'm basically relearning all types of stuff, learning about the scientific method, the continents. You know, I'm basically living my role as a father. So every morning I wake up, I cook breakfast for the family, wash dishes, and then we start school at 9 a.m. in the morning. So that's been kind of, you know, taking my mind off of fighting. And I've been enjoying it, and I love every bit of it.
What's been your favorite part of the homeschooling? What's like the thing that you were most excited to relearn again?
Just honestly everything, like acronyms and synonyms. And well, my son is in first grade, and then my middle son is in kindergarten. But just going through all the stuff again, and you know, we're learning about, you know, words that sound exactly the same but mean different things. Like stool, it can mean poop, it can mean a chair. And my son's like, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, I know it doesn't make sense, Tyron, but it is what it is. And he goes,
so yeah, one thing, I have a first grader as well, and you know, he's learning different things. One thing I'm worried about is, like, once he gets to like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, I guess like math has completely changed, and how you get from like the problem to the answer, it's completely different than it was when like you and I were in school. Have you seen this, and are you concerned about teaching whole new math?
Yeah, my brothers came in town and they're in college, and I was helping them with their homeschool. And the math that I saw, and I told them straight up, I was like, dog, let me tell you straight up. Only math you need in life, depending on what career path you go, is plus, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and learning percentages. That's all you need. All this BS right here, you don't need a damn thing. So when I look at it, I'm like, good luck with that, dog. You know, you need help with, anything else, holler at your boy. But for me, don't come at the house with this.
So if you had to guess, DJ, and I know it's like almost impossible to play the hypothetical game, what's your gut telling you in regards to when you may fight again? Do you think it'll be 2021? Do you think it'll be longer? Maybe not at all? Like, has that thought creeped into your mind at all?
I mean, I'm always, I'm a black and white type of guy where it's like, it's either, I believe I'll probably fight in 2021. I believe, that COVID, the cases won't get out of control and things will be fine. But at the end of the day, it is in the back of our mind. All it has to do, the president of the United States will be like, hey, we're shut down. We're going nationwide, shut down. No international traveling. We got to get this under control. I mean, that can happen. It's just the reality of life. It's happened before. Do I want it to happen? Absolutely not. I want to go out there and compete while I'm still young. I don't want to sit on the silence for another year. But if it happens, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it.
You seem like you have your finger on the pulse despite what is going on with the pandemic in your career. I mean, the UFC has a big event on Saturday. Flyweight division is featured in a big way. Some really good matchups there. Figueiredo and Perez, the main event. Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Royval on the card. And you've been in these spots before, getting the chance to headline events, even though there are some folks out there, like you said, they kind of dump on the smaller fighters. When you're in a spot like these fighters are in, is there a part of you that's like, all right, here's our chance to put a spotlight on this division that shouldn't necessarily need it because the fights are always good, but let's shine the spotlight on anyways. Is there like an extra pressure to do that?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, when I watch fights, I don't think these guys that are going there and make a statement to show the division is dope or whatever. I always thought that way, and that was always my mindset. And it's like, for me, I like vanilla cake. You will never get me to like chocolate cake. I don't care if we're on Mars, Venus, or Pluto. I'm always going to enjoy vanilla cake over than chocolate cake. So that's just how it is with some people. They like heavyweight fighters more than small weight fighters, and I respect that. You can't, you can try to persuade them and change them, but for me, I know what type of weight classes I like to enjoy watching, and nobody's going to change that perspective. There might be a certain athlete that might make me change that, but at the end of the day, I know what I like.
What have you made of Figueiredo's emergence as the champion as he prepares to fight a surging guy like Perez, who would love to go in there and potentially play spoiler on Saturday?
I think Figueiredo is great. I think he's got all the tools to be a champion for a very, very long time. He can take a shot. He's got great cardio. He's got great jiu-jitsu. He hits hard. Those are all the good things to have a long title reign. As long as he stays healthy, drug tests come back clean, he keeps making weight. I don't see why he couldn't, be a champion for a long time. I would love to see him and Henry Cejudo come back in. I would love to see Henry Cejudo come back and fight him, because I feel like Henry Cejudo is a complete package. He'll push the pace. He'll wrestle, and Henry's intelligent, right? So I feel like Henry could be able to go out there and oppose problems from. Not saying that Alex Perez can't. I just haven't seen enough Alex Perez compete. And Henry Cejudo, me and him have shared. We fought before, so I know that Henry Cejudo will figure out a puzzle.
Of course, next on the agenda for you is the Apprentice, the One Championship Edition. This is pretty interesting stuff. You're going to be a part of it. Ben Askren, George St. Pierre, Brendan Vera, Renzo Gracie, Sage Northcutt, Angela Lee, and there are others that I'm missing. This is pretty cool stuff. For those who may not have seen it, what is your role going to be in the show? Like, what are you going to be doing on the Apprentice One Championship Edition?
I'm super excited about it. That's one of the things I love about One Championship is that they're not just a mixed martial arts company. We got One Esports going on with Dota 2 and all that stuff. Obviously, that's been put on pause with the global pandemic, but now stepping into the One Apprentice show. I know everybody else has kind of filmed their show or whatnot, And obviously I'm going to be a judge on there, just sharing, my life experience working full-time job and also competing as a full-time athlete, and basically just guiding the contestants. Hopefully I can help share my insight and be able to be a great judge.
I know, like, in a way, it's going to give those competing in it like a chance to learn the business side of MMA, which is lost on a lot of people, especially me, because I have no idea how the business side works, how and why decisions are made behind the scenes. Has the business side of the sport, I mean, of course it relates to you with contracts, money, and all that stuff, but the back end, the behind the scenes business aspect of such a crazy sport like this, has that been something that you've been interested in on a wider scale?
The only thing I'm interested in it is when it comes to certain things as a business aspect is how can you leverage your brand? Like, how can you be able to expand your brand outside of mixed martial arts? And that's what I've been doing with my gaming. My teammate, we just got back from California shooting some content that was, video game related. And that's going to be broadcast on a certain channel on a certain game. I can't really, speak too much about it. But right there, one of my very first passion, which is video game, I've been able to leverage my name and be able to do content in the video game space. So for me, I would always look at like an athlete, my buddy who's 0-0 as a professional athlete, but undefeated as an amateur. I look at him, I'm like, okay, well, his name's James, he's Chinese, he speaks Mandarin, he also speaks, Cantonese, and he also speaks English. He does wushu. He does all of the staff, the sword, nunchucks. He does all that stuff. Does performances every Chinese New Year's. I'm like, okay, how can we build your brand? You're already a badass fighter. I'm sure you're gonna do very well. But how can we separate you from everyone else? How can we make your walkout memorable? Just like Izzy Adesanya, like I feel like he separates himself from every other middleweight or champion is because he's very honest. He's throwing up middle fingers. He's calling people the C word, and he's also a nerd who watches anime, and that sticks out to me because that's what type of characters I like to like follow or like, I guess you can say.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. By the way, did you get a PS5 yet?
Yes, I did.
Are you having issues like everybody else?
No thanks to Sony. Shout out to my man Robert Lopez, and shout out to Target for delivering the next damn day. But no problem whatsoever with mine.
Have you seen everybody having issues? Even Daniel Cormier said he's having big problems with it.
Well, I'm sure Daniel Cormier's got his shit on Wi-Fi. You don't play console on Wi-Fi. You hardwire that bad boy.
So there you go, gamers. That's a little piece of advice from the man himself, DJ. It's great catching up with you, man. I know you're driving. I appreciate you giving me so much time. You can catch Demetrious Johnson on the Apprentice One Championship Edition. You can find that on the One Super app, and I believe that'll be dropping pretty soon. But always appreciate the time, man. It's been a few years. Hopefully you'll have a busy 2021 in and out of the cage, but you're handling it all like a true champion. No surprise here. Thank you as always, man.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Stay safe, stay healthy.